In a great book published about a decade ago, Michael Morales gives analyzes the prefigurations of the tabernacle. The tabernacle prefigured is the title of the book. He looks at the Garden of Eden. He looks at the cosmos that was created. And interestingly, he looks at Noah's Ark as a prefiguration of the sanctuary. Noah's Ark is constructed in 3 stories. Noah's Ark has a window above, so it opens up to heaven. It has a door beneath, so it kind of resembles the cosmos. And the structure is more like the structure of a house than it is like a ship. That's an important insight into the nature of Noah's Ark, and also it's an important insight into what Jesus is doing as the greater Noah, constructing a new ark. Of course, the ark, although it prefigures the sanctuary, the ark is fundamentally a kind of small-scale cosmos. The animals, all the animals of the earth are in there. Human beings are in there. It has these 3 stories that resemble the 3-story universe. That's a small cosmos, and it's going to be a small cosmos that's going to give birth eventually to a new cosmos, a macrocosmic mission. Once Noah lands on the top of Mount Ararat, the animals and the people come out and they begin again to make and to speak and to rule the earth as God had created them to do. Every sanctuary in the Bible is like Noah's Ark. Every sanctuary is a microcosm. And every sanctuary is kind of a seed pod of a new creation. And Moses is given the pattern for the tabernacle, and the tabernacle is built at the foot of Sinai. But the tabernacle is not supposed to remain in that small area. The tabernacle is supposed to be a pattern of the way the world ought to be, just as Noah's Ark is a pattern of the way the world would be. Of course, the New Covenant sanctuary, the sanctuary that Jesus is building, the ark that Jesus is building is the church. But the church has the same character as the Old Testament sanctuaries. That is, the church is the world as it ought to be. It's a seed pod of a new creation. And it's particularly in the worship of the church, it's particularly in the liturgy of the church, that reality of the anticipation of the new creation is enacted and achieved. It's through gathering together in the Lord's presence and singing His praises that we anticipate all creation joining in praise to God. It's as we sit at the Lord's table and enjoy Eucharist that we're formed into a people of thanksgiving. We're formed into a people that will engage with the world with gratitude. We're formed as a people who are going to make and speak in the world in a way that honors God. The Eucharist is a sign of what the world would be, and it's not just a sign of what the world will be, but it's a sign of, it's a formative sign. By participating in the Eucharist, the people of God are being transformed into the kind of people that will renew the world and rebuild the world, and will participate with Jesus and His Spirit in reconstructing creation. The liturgy is also a place where we're remade in order to speak properly. We're remade in order to make properly, and we're remade in order to speak properly. We speak properly when we hear properly, when we hear the Word of God, and we commit it to our hearts, and that gives us the ability to bring up from our hearts things that are edifying and that are life-giving, the words of God. In the presence of God, we're given the gift of, not in the New Testament sense, but we're given the gift of tongues. We're given the gift of speech anew. In the liturgy, Jesus is reconstructing humanity. In the liturgy, Jesus, the greater Noah, the carpenter of Nazareth, is putting the world back together and putting humanity back together. The liturgy is a preparation for our rule over creation. It's a preparation for the transformation of all creation. But it's also it is the place where we actually, in fact, do now rule and transform creation. As we appear in the presence of God and lift Him up on our praises, we're transforming the world around us. As we offer our prayers and plead with Him for justice in the earth, we are remaking the world. We're appealing to the one power that can remake the world. It's in the liturgy that the church's mission comes to fruition. It's in the liturgy that we're repatterned to be a missionary people that participate with Jesus in renewing creation.